So welcome to Jump OIS and welcome to lecture number 10 of history in this lecture series called Prelims Powerplay 2026. Through this lecture series, you will get to revise your entire syllabus for prelims examination, the entire syllabus, current affairs as well as the static portion. What we'll do is we will cover all the current affairs subject-wise. But along with that, we will also cover static topics which have some connection with current affairs, because we all know that static topics which have some connection with current affairs have a high chance, high probability of featuring in your prelims examination. Therefore, we will cover static as well as current affairs. Now, it is very important for you to make this lecture series a part of your daily routine, because if you'll do so, then you'll begin your revision now and you only have to spend just 1 hour of your day. That's it. Just by spending 1 hour of your day from now till your prelims examination, you would have revised everything. No need to wait for your revision till February, March, April. No. Begin your revision now. Now, to get the real advantage of this lecture series, Prelims Powerplay, well, you have to follow these 4 steps. Step number 1 is pretty simple, okay? Step number 1 involves watching the lecture on time. Every day on YouTube, the lecture would drop at 9 p.m. Just be regular and consistent with it. Don't keep your lectures pending. Don't keep a huge backlog. Don't do that. Then step number 2, along with these lectures, we will give you notes. Those notes would contain some extra information plus the information that was discussed in the lecture. Memorize those notes just after watching the lecture. Memorize them. It's very important, okay? Then, naturally, you'll have some doubts. Ask your doubts, because we will be enrolling you in WhatsApp groups specifically created for your doubts. Ask your doubts over there. Do not hesitate. Ask your doubts as soon as you encounter them. This is step number 3. And step number 4, very important again. Along with this lecture series, we will also give you a test series, which will contain an exhaustive list of tests. Be regular with those tests. Please be regular with those tests. Please do not ignore tests. Tests are the most critical component of your preparation. Now, the thing is, as far as step number 1 is concerned, well, there is no problem. Lecture would come on YouTube. You can watch it over there. But for step number 2, that is notes, for WhatsApp groups and for the test series, you would have to register on our app or on our website. The link to our app or our website is given in the comment section below. So register for this course on our app or on our website by clicking on those links that are given below. Okay, do that. Start your revision for prelims now. Start your coverage for prelims now. By the way, in case you're finding any difficulty with respect to registration for this lecture series, well, along with those links, there is also a number. Just drop us a WhatsApp on that number and we will guide you through the entire registration process. Okay? All right. Enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into today's lecture. And our today's topic of discussion is Sangam Age. It's older than you think. Now, we all know about Sangam Age. Okay? It's where the historic period of South India starts. Basically, what Vedas were for the North India and entire country, Sangam Age specifically begins the historical period of South India. Now, generally, Sangam Age was dated from 3rd century BC to 3rd century CE, because most of our information comes from Sangam literature. Now, that was dated from 3rd BC to 3rd century CE. But recently, some excavations are being done. And as per those archaeological excavations, the materials that have been found out, well, if you do carbon dating on them, then the age goes back to 800 BC, 700 BC. So Sangam Age is not as old as 3rd century BC. It is much older than that. That's what the excavations have or archaeological findings have revealed. Scholars would debate on it and a final date would come out. But it is much older than this. Now, this excavation was in the news. It dominated the news, okay? And that is why this entire topic of Sangam Age becomes important for us for prelims examination, because definitely questions can be asked because it dominated the news. Like I said before, whatever static topic has some connection with current affairs will definitely be asked. So we will talk about this excavation. Whatever was covered in current affairs, we will talk about that. Plus, we'll also talk about certain basic facts about Sangam Age so that you get to brush up, revise this static topic of ancient history, that is Sangam Age. All right, so let's begin then. So history lecture number 10, Sangam Age, older than you think. Now, what was the news? Okay, just take a look at this site. As you can all see that archaeologists are doing their work, some workers are excavating this site. Okay, this site is called Kiladi or Kiladi, and excavations at this site has revealed certain artifacts about Sangam age. Okay, certain artifacts came out. Well, a proper urban civilization or evidence of urban civilization came out through this excavation, and the site belonged to the Sangam period. But when carbon dating was done on the artifacts and various other things found in this on this site, well, it found out that this site is as old as 580 BC. And further research was done. And as per a particular archaeologist, well, Sangam age is not 3rd century BC. Sangam age can be as old as 800 BC. Now, this fired up the imagination of people who are interested in South India's history, okay, especially people who are interested in Tamil Nadu's history, right? So that is why, as far as South Indian news channels are concerned, they covered this particular news item extensively. And national news channels as well, those news channels which are sitting in Delhi, they also covered this particular news extensively, because it was a bit controversial also, because there was some tussle between central government and Tamil Nadu government with respect to this. Okay, we won't get into the controversy, but nonetheless, we will talk about this Kiladi excavation. Okay, so Kiladi excavation site. So let's talk about this excavation site, and then in the end, we'll talk about certain basic facts related to Sangam age. Okay, so this excavation site is located near Madurai in Tamil Nadu's Shivaganga district along Vaigai River. And that is why some people are calling it, like Indus Valley civilization is there, some people are calling it Vaigai Valley civilization. Reveals a Sangam era urban settlement dating from around 580 BC to 1st century CE. Okay, with over 18,000 artifacts unearthed across 10 phases by 2025. So excavation began around 2015. Okay, and excavation was done in 10 phases till 2025, and a lot has been revealed. Findings push Sangam age origins to 800 BCE. That's pretty old, okay? Well, older than even the Mahajanpada period in North India. That is 600 BC. Bridging Iron Age to early historic period, okay? Because this period is known as the Iron Age because iron was discovered. Before this, it was the Bronze Age, the Indus Valley Age. After Bronze Age, well, there was Iron Age. So this particular civilization of Sangam age runs parallel to Iron Age. Confirming urban Tamil civilization contemporaneous with Gangetic Plains, because Gangetic Plains saw rise of Mahajanpadas. I hope you know about this, Mahajanpadas. So in South India as well, in Tamil Nadu as well, well, urban civilization was flourishing along with Mahajanpadas. Because people used to say that first Mahajanpadas came and then Sangam age came around 3rd century BC. But no, this particular excavation site reveals that it goes back, even before than Mahajanpadas. Okay, that is why it is a little controversial, as well as it has fired up the imagination of, well, archaeological enthusiasts. Okay, now what were the major findings in this at this site? So this site reveals excavations at this site reveal that it was an advanced urban center. Evidence of planned settlements, walls, drainage systems as advanced as ancient Rome. Okay, well points to a structured urban life. It was not just a rural settlement, it was a full-fledged urban civilization. Then you found so many written documents as well, written inscriptions as well, which showcases that literacy was well known during that period. And we also got to know the script used by these people. Okay, over 120 Tamil Brahmi script used by Ashoka. Over 120 Tamil Brahmi inscribed potsherds show high literacy and long survival of script with names like Sathan, Isiri were found. Okay, so literary evidence has also been found. Then you get to know something about the economy of that period, of that particular area. Discovery of spindle whorls, needles, terracotta seals, and hanging stones point to thriving weaving, dyeing, glass bead industry. Agate and carnelian beads suggest trade links also. So it was a flourishing urban civilization which had trade links as well. Because they say Sangam age, or people during the Sangam age, had trade links with the Romans as well. So yes, there was trade. Rich material culture, you found gold ornaments, shell, ivory, bangles, copper tools, games, reflect a prosperous, culturally rich, secular lifestyle because no religious symbols were found. That's weird. No religious symbol were found in this particular site. Okay. Now, what is the significance of this discovery? Okay. First of all, you get to know about the age of Sangam age. Carbon dating pushes the timeline back to 6th century BC or earlier, 800 BC, challenging the 3rd century BC origin. Okay, that Sangam age began in 3rd century BC. No, 6th century at least, 580 BC at least. Then there is Indus Valley link also, because a lot of motifs or a lot of structures that were built were similar to Indus Valley civilization. Okay, graffiti symbols show similarities to Indus Valley signs, hinting at a script precursor, bridging a major gap in Indian historical scripts. Okay, because you found some signs that were similar to the signs found in Indus Valley civilization. So maybe there was some commonality. Then, well, Tamil civilization is older than you think. Okay, it highlights Tamil Nadu's independent cultural existence. Okay, development termed as Vaigai Valley civilization. So, like Indus Valley civilization, there was Vaigai Valley civilization. So, Tamil Nadu was developing, its urban civilization was developing independently. That's significant. Okay, plus the Iron Age dilemma was solved because archaeologists found iron tools and a civilization as back as 800, 700 BC. But Sangam literature started, or Sangam age started in 3rd century BC. So there was this huge gap between 800 BC and 3rd century BC. What were people doing during this time? But now, when you push Sangam age to 800 BC, now you know that these findings around 700, 800 BC were from Sangam people only. Okay, or of Sangam people only. So this link has been bridged. Deeper understanding, basically. Okay, now that's all that you need to know as far as this particular current affair topic is concerned. Current affairs topic is concerned. Okay, more details would be there in your notes. Very simple, minute, basic trivia facts would be there in your notes. Go through that. But that's all you need to know as far as this current affair topic is concerned. But I promised you that we will also cover the associated static topic. Okay, and the associated static topic is Sangam age. Now, the thing is that, well, this Keladi excavation pushes back Sangam age to 8th century, or let's suppose 6th century BC. Okay, but archaeologists are still debating over this. Okay, there are still discussions going on. Some say it's 6th century, some say it's 8th century, some say it is 3rd century BC, because there is evidence to point at that as well. So currently debate is going on, and nobody can say anything no final conclusion has come out. Debate is going on. Okay, so therefore, for your exams, okay, for your exams, you would consider Sangam age to begin at 3rd century BC only. Unless in your MCQs it is specifically mentioned that as per Keladi excavation, Sangam age began in, then you would say 6th century BC or 800 BC. But if Keladi excavation is not mentioned, then as per the consensus among archaeologists or historians, we will still consider Sangam age to begin at 3rd century BC. Just remember this for your exams. By the way, archaeologists are still discussing the matter. Maybe in 1, 2, 3 months, they might come out with a final answer. But till that time, till your exams, just consider Sangam age to begin at 3rd century BCE. Okay, for your exams, until specifically asked about Keladi excavation. Okay, so remember this fact. So let's talk about Sangam age. Okay, now, so introduction. The Sangam age spanning approximately 3rd century BC to 3rd century CE in ancient Tamil Nadu, some parts of Kerala and parts of Sri Lanka, northern Sri Lanka. Okay, now this age represents the classical period of Tamil literature. Basically, you must have heard about Vedic age, right? So where do we get most of our information about Vedic age? We get it from Vedic literature. Okay, the Vedas, Upanishads, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, okay, Smriti, Shruti, all these things. Now, where do we get most of our information for Sangam age? We get it from Sangam literature. Okay, I'll explain what this literature is all about, but right now just understand this. Okay, so represents the classical period of Tamil literature and culture under the patronage of 3 big kings, or 3 big chieftains were there: Cheras, Cholas and Pandya kingdoms. Together, they were known as Movendar, the three kings of Tamil Nadu. Okay, it is named after three legendary academies, Sangams in Madurai. So, what is Sangam literature basically? Listen to me carefully. The thing is, in those days, back in those days, there were so many poets, so many writers, so many bards. There were so many literary geniuses. Now, under the Pandya rule, okay, Madurai was a city under Pandya rule. Now, Pandya kings used to conduct these assemblies where all the poets, the writers, all these intellectuals, literary geniuses would meet, okay, at Madurai. That was known as Sangam. So, Sangam meant that all these writers, poets would come and meet, and over there they would meet for many days, and in that assembly, they would compose certain things, okay, or they used to discuss their compositions. So in that Sangam, well, a lot of literature was released. That is Sangam literature. Okay, so the assembly of all these writers took place. There were three Sangams: the first Sangam, second Sangam, and the third Sangam. Okay, third meeting. Now, most of the first Sangam, the literature composed during this first Sangam, destroyed. We don't have any. About second Sangam, we have one or two books. Most of our knowledge about Sangam literature comes from third Sangam. Okay, so this is the thing. So this is Sangam, and in this that is why it is called Sangam literature, because literature composed during these Sangams. You understand? And remember, Sangams were organized by Pandya kings in their capital city, Madurai. Okay. Surviving works from Third Sangam provides insights into polity, society, economy, and urban life, corroborated by sites like Keladi. So, whatever was written in those literary pieces of evidence in those books, we are constructing the economy, the society, the political structure, the social structure, everything from whatever was written in those books. But that is being matched with the excavations also, like Keladi and various ancient port towns. Many archaeological excavations are being done in those port towns also, ports. So we are finding whatever we studied in Sangam literature, we are able to find those things through physical evidence as well, through archaeology. Make sense? Okay. Now, this is introduction. Okay. Now remember, Sangam age was dominated by these three kings. Okay, who are these three kings? The kingdom Chira, Chola, Pandya. Okay, now Chiras, their capital city, they were around Kerala and all. So their capital city was Vanji, Musiri. Their symbol, their national symbol was a bow, and most of our information for about Chira kingdom comes from this book called Silapadikaram. Okay, which talks about a very great Chira king called Senguttuvan. Okay, so Silapadikaram is a literary piece. Okay, it's literature, and in Silapadikaram, very fascinating story, by the way, very great story. If you know the summary of the story written in Silapadikaram, it's fascinating and tragic also. Nonetheless, it mentions about Senguttuvan, the king. So we get information about Cheras from this. About Cholas, we get information from Pattina Appalai. Okay, it talks about the great Chola king, not imperial Cholas, which we discussed yesterday, the Sangam Cholas, Karaikala. And then Madurai Kanji, which talks about a Pandya king called Nedunjian. Okay, now Chola's capital was Urayur or Puhar. Pandya's capital was Madurai. The Chola symbol was tiger, Pandya symbol was fish. Okay, so this is a table, just memorize it. All right. Now let's talk about the source of our information for Sangam age, and that is Sangam literature. Okay. Now, Sangam referred to ancient academies or assemblies of Tamil poets, scholars, bards held under the patronage of Pandya kings. Okay, in Madurai. Now, we have data about three Sangams that were held under Pandya kings. Okay, that is why collectively these three Sangams are known as Muchangam. The first Sangam was held in the old Madurai city. No surviving work. We have no evidence of what was written in that time. Then second Sangam held in Kapatpuram. Okay, only the grammar text of Tolaka PM survives. So Tolaka PR was a person who wrote Tolaka PM. Tolaka PM gave Tamil grammar. So that grammar portion survives. So that's about it. That survives from second Sangam. But most of the work survived from third Sangam. held in New Madurai, the new city of Madurai, producing most of the surviving literature, including Ettukotai, 8 anthologies, and Pattu Pattu, 10 idols. Okay, plus just after this third Sangam also, there were many epics that were written like Silapadikaram, Mani Mekalai, and many other things, which are known as post-Sangam literature. So these were the three Sangams. From first, nothing survived. From second, Tolakapiyam survived. From third, almost everything survived. Okay. Now, some facts about Sangam literature. Now, Sangam literature, the fictional stories in Sangam literature were based on two themes. Akam, that is theme of love, and Puram, that is theme of heroism. Okay. So remember, Akam and Puram were two themes on which the story was weaved. Tolakapiyam as the oldest grammar work by Tolakapiyar, offering details on social norms and Tamil poetics. Ettukotai and Puranuru and Akanuru, political history, love poems. Okay. Pattu Pattu features Pattinapalai on Chola Port Puhar and Madurai Kanji on Pandya capital. Post Sangam. Okay. After the third Sangam, there was this work collectively known as the Ethics. Pattinikana Kanu. Okay. Naku. I'm sorry with the pronunciation. I'm so sorry. Okay. In this book, in this work of ethics, there was one particular work on ethics known as Tirukural by Tiruvalluvar. Okay, so this is important because we have studied about Tiruvalluvar, okay, in our military history portion of history, okay. And epics such as Silapadikaram, written by Ilango Adigal, which talks about ethics, moral values. It talks about introduction of Buddhism as well. So many things. So these are some of the examples of Sangam literature given in your notes. Do read them. Okay. Now let's talk about the political structure of that time, okay, which we got to know from the details mentioned in Sangam literature, okay. So the polity was monarchical rule with kings, okay, controlling assemblies which used to advise the kings, Sabha, supported by their ministers, priests, spies. Then these kings had local chieftains also known as veliers, okay. Local chiefs, veliers, managed territories amid cattle raids and wars. Cheras ruled Kerala, Cholas ruled Kaveri Delta, and Pandyas Madurai. Okay. Now, it's not just that the Sangam literature gives us the evidence for Chola Chira Pandya. In fact, Ashokan inscriptions also give us evidence about these three Tamil kingdoms. Ashokan edicts talk about them, especially Ashokan edicts in the southern part of his empire. Then Kharavela, Odisha kings, their Hathi Gumpa inscriptions also mention a lot of things. So this is inscriptional evidence, inscriptions written by contemporary kings who saw Sangam age firsthand. Okay. Then economy and society. So their economic structure and societal structure. So agriculture was the mainstay and pastoralism. Cattle was central to wealth. Okay, cattle rearing. Crafts were there, weaving, pottery, bead making. Trade was there, including international trade. Ports like Koraikai, Puhar, Arikamedu facilitated Roman trade in spices, pearls, and textiles because between 3rd century BC to 3rd century CE, Roman civilization was also, Roman Empire was also rising and it was trading internationally. It was trading with Sangam people. Now, if you talk about society, well, there was caste system, but they didn't use the term Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Okay, they didn't use those terms. They had similar terms, not similar in a sense. They had their own terms, Tamil terms for these classes. Just remember, during Sangam age, evidence suggests that castes were there, okay, but these castes were not hereditary, they were occupation based, mostly occupation based. This is the evidence suggested by Sangam literature. Though later in Sangam age, it became hereditary, birth based, but initially it was occupation based, like early Vedic, later Vedic. Okay. Kiladi findings confirm literacy and urbanization. All right. So these were the castes, Sangam castes. So Arafat was not Arafat, Arazar was the kings. Antanar were Brahmins, priestly class. Vanigar were traders, and Velelars were big agriculturalists, okay, landlords. Then there were slaves also, Adimai, Kadaisar. Normal farmers, the peasants were called Uzavars. And there were tribes also which did not fall into these castes, okay. Todu, Zirulas, Nagas, Vedars. Okay, more detail is given in your notes, so memorize through that as well. All right. Now, a question can be asked because we are talking about Kiladi excavation and a lot of information about Sangam age is coming from this Kiladi excavation. So UPSC might ask you a question in your prelims as well as mains examination, that what are the sources of Sangam history? Where do we get our information for Sangam period? Okay, so how do we know about Sangam period? What are the sources? So number one source is Sangam literature. Okay, so let's talk about sources of Sangam history. So number one is Sangam literature. That's true. Then number two is archaeological sources. Kiladi excavation, plus the port of Puhar, Arikamedu, they were also excavated, and a lot of evidences of international trade by Sangam people was also found. So a lot of Sangam information about Sangam age comes from archaeological sources also. Then epigraphic sources. Remember we talked about Ashokan edicts, Hathigumpa inscriptions. Okay. Then there were stones erected for heroes also known as Nadukals. Okay. We get evidence for that also. Plus there are foreign accounts also. Because Megasthenes, the Greek traveler and the Greek historical personality who visited Chandragupta Maurya and traveled extensively through India, he wrote a book called Indica. And in that, he mentions about Sangam people. Okay. In fact, there were many other travelers who have talked about Sangam people. So we have foreigner accounts also. Clear? That would be all. So with that, we conclude today's lecture as well as history portion in phase 1. Don't worry, more history is there. We will cover before our prelims examination. This was just phase 1. In phase 1, the 10 lectures of history are over. Now, I hope you followed all those 4 steps. Those were very important. The 4 steps: watch the lecture, memorize from notes, doubts, and tests. Continue with that throughout all phases. Okay? And I'm sure if you gave your 100% attention, this lecture as well as all the other lectures have added a lot of value to your preparation. Trust me on this. Your score would definitely improve in prelims. Just follow this consistently. So in the hope that you will follow this lecture series consistently and follow these 4 golden steps, I shall take your leave with the promise of seeing you again with another topic in this lecture series called Prelims Powerplay. Thank you, everyone.